Good morning. Today I want to talk about speeding. This post popped up on my Facebook and I want to know what you think. Firstly, have you been caught speeding recently? I think that there's cameras everywhere. I have been caught speeding more times in 2025 than in my whole entire life. And most of the time I get caught speeding, as I said in a recent video, I seem to be driving my wife's car. And let's make that joke again. It's better to be caught speeding in your wife's car than to be caught wearing her underwear. Right, so this is one that, hang on, before I launch into this 128 mile an hour Audi, I think there's cameras everywhere, and I think it's getting harder and harder to not get caught speeding. I've had these chats with Richard from Channels of Road. I've had this chat with Adrian from the Association of British Drivers. The police don't want you to stop speeding. They just want to catch you. That's my theory. They're not interested in slowing people down, but they are interested in monetizing going over the speed limit. So let's take a look at this, and then we're going to have a look at some of the comments as well, because it's quite interesting where some of these comments go. And I want to know your thoughts on this as well. So this is from one of these quality control and border security. Now, it's important to note that a lot of these Facebook pages that post this sort of content, they're nothing to do with the police. They're just content farms. So some of this stuff that you see, and when people engage with it, you're just engaging with pointless content. I don't know who's behind them. But let's take a look. Driver of this Audi clocked doing 150 mile an hour, slamming on the brakes for the new AI speed cameras, and then back up to speed again. Speed averaged out at 128. AI cameras sent a notification to RPU, Road Patrol Unit, 6 minutes away, and we had this driver at 128, crying that he needed the car and looking at a lengthy ban. My first thoughts on this, okay? We need to talk about AI cameras. Now, I don't know where this is, but the fact that there are AI cameras that will just catch you, you no longer need a man with a gun, as in a speed gun, to catch you anymore. AI cameras will do the job for you. So if he's gone through 2 or 3 cameras that he didn't even know were there, well, is that entrapment? I don't know. It's obviously an Audi RS. No, it's not an R, because if it's an Audi RS, they have single exhaust pipes on each side. It's an S. I think it's an S7, which is be 400 odd horsepower, and turbocharged V6, I think. So a very quick and capable car that can do more than 150 mile an hour easily. And yeah, so he's been done at 128, so over 100 in the UK is generally an instant ban. Ask me how I know. 56 days and a £900 fine some years ago. So let's look at some of the comments then. Because there's lots to say about that, and I'll let you deal with that in the comments about AI cameras and all this sort of stuff, and the surveillance state, and the fact that you can catch a car at 128 mile an hour but can't catch a dinghy at 11 mile an hour heading for Dover. And clearly not the only person that feels that way. 717 likes on that comment. It's interesting, isn't it, that the whole nation seems to feel the same, or is this just my algorithm showing me comments like this? So yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So we'll come off that. How do we get off that comment? Right. Most relevant. Let's take most relevant comments, shall we? Now, I don't think the general public are that bothered about this stuff. I really don't. Here you go, Lewis. Should be cracking down on the dinosaurs who sit doing 30 in the middle lane for 10 miles, slamming on every time a leaf drifts past their window. They're the real danger. I fully agree. It's middle laners are much more dangerous than speeders. I think if you're going fast on the motorway, generally you're paying a heightened level of attention to everyone around you, and then that comes into this comment here from Christopher. There are people I trust doing 120, and people I don't trust doing 50. So, do you remember when Richard Hammond crashed the dragster in a Top Gear episode, and he was injured in hospital, and then when he was back in the studio, Clarkson very famously finished the skit with "There you go, ladies and gentlemen, speed kills," and then gestured to Richard Hammond, who was next to him and was quite clearly not dead. Speed doesn't kill. Speed is not the be all and end all. I had this conversation with Adrian last year. It is not speed that is the problem. It's bad driving that is the problem. Speed itself isn't an issue. So this is the thing, and this is my whole beef with everything about UK road policing and everything about UK roads is about speed, and speed is not the issue. Right, here you go, Wayne. Amateur numbers come back when it's a figure worth writing home about. So Wayne obviously regularly travels at more than 128 miles an hour. So Doris in her Yaris doing 30 in a 60 is safe. There you go, someone else. And there was a comment further down, I don't know where it is now, saying that the speed limits on the motorway were set in, the 1960s, and that's true. The maths isn't mathing, says Kyle. Clocked at 128, slamming on and speeding up. How do we end up with an average of 150? Well, Kyle's got it the wrong way around. He was allegedly doing 150, then he slammed the brakes on and was caught again. So we need more information as to how they've actually done this and how they've clocked him at 128. It looks to me like he was flagged by a camera, and then it was the car that caught him at 128. So let's take a look at a few more of these before we go into this one, which is about North Wales, and we're going to activate our ad blocker for this one, which you'll like. And they're scrapping the 20 mile an hour limit. So a couple more of these. Paul, we could increase motorway speed. Where's it gone? Absolutely infuriating. There it is. Paul, we could increase motorway speeds to 80 as the norm in Europe and have, as in Germany, some unrestricted sections. Note that most unrestricted autobahns are dual carriageways and not 3 lanes. However, I have to say we should also have ongoing training to improve driver standards. 100% correct. That is what Adrian's been advocating for. Travelling at high speed is not easy, and understanding the dangers and risks and potential downsides is important. And if we have had licences that allowed higher speeds, people would then aspire to achieve a better standard and get the higher speed rating. What a great idea. I like that. It is without doubt one of the strangest laws. You can buy a car that can do near 300 miles an hour and yet can only drive it at 70 miles an hour. That's our freedom to have a car that could break the law if we want to. Yes, and whenever there's been suggestions of speed limiters on cars, which modern cars do now have, people don't like it. I have a 1996 Volvo 850 diesel that tops out at 125 miles an hour if you're on a downhill with a bit of wind behind you. But that's faster than my friend's 400 horsepower brand new Volvo XC90 because it's limited to 112. And again, what's the point of limiting a car to 112? But I did read an article the other day about a van with a speed limiter, and the reviewer said that it was dangerous because it meant you couldn't properly overtake because the van was limited. So let's go and take a look. Yeah, there you go. In 1960, there wasn't a quarter of the traffic on motorways as there is now. Let's go and take a quick look at what's going on with North Wales, because Wales famously introduced blanket 20 mile an hour speed limits on all of their 30 mile an hour roads. And Lee the Mapmaster and I went and did a challenge in Wales to see what it was like, and it was unbelievably painful. But Anglesey has now reverted to a 30 mile an hour limit on routes across the island. It will be scrapped on 22 Anglesey roads, and the council has agreed plans to overturn the controversial limit and revert back to 30. Why are they doing this? Let's find out. Let's scroll down here. Yep, ad blocker activated. Following a consultation period, the council established a cross-party steering group to review public feedback over 47 road sections on the island. Of these, 25 were found to meet the criteria set by the Welsh Government, and we're not told what that criteria was. They were in regulations the lengths of roads exempted from the mandatory 20 mile an hour speed limits. So there's all the roads that are included, and that is a very terrible article. Highways Officer Alan Roberts presented the case for each of the 25 areas to establish the authority following an extensive public consultation. And basically they've said that the 20 mile an hour limits, most of them are going. Councillor Douglas Fowell said he and fellow councillors felt there's no real benefit from moving the 20 to a 40, as it proposed many risks, but as we've said, it doesn't. So what they're doing is the councillors seem to be pushing for 20 mile an hour, but the people don't want it. So again, it's a case of what the people want isn't being taken into consideration by what the government are actually doing. Again, no representation. No taxation without representation, as we should say. So let me know in the comments what you think. Have you been caught speeding recently? Have you been caught in 2025? Are you being caught more than usual? And when you are caught, what do you do? Do you give someone else's details? Do you tell them it was your cousin driving? Give us your stories on getting caught speeding, and I'm going to keep on this sort of story, because I'm awaiting some letters in the post, and we will see what happens. I know Tony from EV Carnage has had plenty of issues with speeding tickets. Richard's had issues with speeding tickets. I don't think the Macmaster has, but that's because he drives like an old lady. And we'll see more of that in the coming weeks when we do John O'Groats to Land's End again. Who's going to win? Me in an older diesel or Macmaster in a brand new EV? Although he's claiming 500 miles range at the moment, which is a little bit scary. I have to admit, he could be in with a chance. So we shall see. Thanks for watching.